Hey y'all, today we are going to be talking specifically about Dar al Islam, which is going to go across the trans-Saharan trade route. As we learned in the last video, one of the big effects of the trans-Saharan trade route is the spread of Islam. So Dar al Islam just means the Islamic world, and because much of the Islamic world is going to go through North and West Africa, we're going to talk about it here in the trans-Saharan trade route section. We're also going to see that Islam is going to be especially important within the Indian Ocean trade route as well when we get there in our coming weeks. So let's get started. So things that you should be able to do by the time this video ends is describe 3 developments that led to the spread of Islam, explain why one development led to the spread of Islam, describe Ibn Battuta's travels, describe how Islam shaped South Asia, Northern Africa, and Eastern Africa, specifically the areas of Africa from this video and the following activities, describe what merchant diaspora is, and explain how merchant diaspora affects the local populations. We've got a whole bunch of words to know from this video and the following activities of 1C and 1D, and then people to know are going to be Ibn Battuta, and we have 3 major standards from the College Board: Islam, Judaism, Christianity, and the core beliefs and practices of these religions continued to shape societies in Africa and Asia. As exchange networks, like the Trans-Saharan trade route, increased, an increasing number of travelers within Afro-Eurasia wrote about their travels. Specific to this lesson is Ibn Battuta. Increased cross-cultural interactions resulted in the diffusion of literary, artistic, and cultural traditions, as well as scientific and technological innovations. So what we're going to see here is that Dar al Islam is going to spread, and one of the reasons that it spreads is because of trade. We got that from our last video. There are 2 other reasons why Dar al Islam is going to expand and Islam is going to spread into these other empires. We are also going to see that as Dar al Islam expands and becomes more powerful within these different empires in both the Arabian Peninsula or the Middle East, as well as North Africa and South Asia, what we're going to see is that as it spreads and becomes more popular, as it becomes more powerful, the people of Dar al Islam are going to become our record keepers. They are going to store our knowledge of scientific advances. They're going to push science. They're going to push medical knowledge, and they are going to help us as a human people to record and keep safe the learnings and the histories of past generations. And we're talking the Greeks, the Romans, other societies like that. We know and have a record of those stories and of that learning because of the Muslim people in 1200 to 1450. So let's learn more about it. At the end of this video, you should write 100 in your tracker and put a photo of your finished ed puzzle into the assignments tab. Here we go. So there is some historical context that we need to have. So we've got our timeline here, and we can see that Dar al Islam and Islam is one of our Abrahamic faiths. Okay, and we're going to have a spread of Islam in the early years. You can see it in here. It's going to happen in kind of 3 phases. Okay, so Islam originates in the 7th century CE in the Arabian Peninsula, which we would refer to today as like Saudi Arabia in the Middle East. It is founded by the Prophet Muhammad. A lot of this should be a review from what you did during the summer. And Muslims believe that he is going to hear these revelations through the angel Gabriel that are coming straight from Allah or God. Allah is just the Arabic word for God. These revelations are later compiled into the holy book of the Muslim people called the Quran. So after Muhammad died in 632, leadership is passed to several different people throughout the years, and these are called the caliphs. Now, remember, there is a schism or a break in the Islamic religion because they can't agree on who should be the next person in line after the Prophet Muhammad dies. Okay, so some people believe that it should be someone in his direct line of descendants. Other people believe that it should be this person who they felt was a much stricter follower. We're going to end with 2 big sections of Islam, Sunni and Shia. Okay, and this is going to be even more important as we get into our second historical period and we see the rise of our gunpowder empires. So you can see here, this is what the Islamic world looks like today. You can see that we have Sunni and Shia. There is a much larger population of Sunni Muslims to Shia Muslims. Shia is very, very popular, and it is the religion of Iran, but you can also see that there are Shia Muslims within Iraq, although they are more of a minority. And in our northern African region, we're going to see Sunni Islam. All right, caliphs. So caliphs are a political and religious leader in Islam. They are seen as the successor, both politically and religiously, of the Prophet Muhammad. They are responsible for upholding Islamic law or Sharia and protecting the Muslim community. Their authority often blends both religious and political power together. Especially in this historical time period, we're going to see most leaders are going to take religion and use that to help legitimize their power. So this is nothing unique to Dar al Islam. We're going to see that the leaders and kings of Europe, the emperors in East Asia, China, we're going to see this throughout the world, using religion as a power to legitimize the power that you have in politics and creating that type of power. So by the 8th century, Islam has spread across the Middle East, which is our Arabian Peninsula, North Africa, into Egypt, and even into parts of Europe. It's important to remember that this is Spain today, and especially northern or southern Spain is going to be a stronghold of Islam well into the 1450s, 1700s, when we're going to see stronger Christian leaders pushing these Islamic people as well as Jewish people out of what we call Spain today. All right, so we've got 3 major Islamic caliphs, the Umayyad Caliph, the Abbasid, and then the Ottoman Empire. We're going to get more to the Ottoman Empire in our next historical period, 1450 to 1750, but the Abbasid Caliphate is really important now, although it does fall very soon as we start our historical period. So their capital is in Baghdad, and Baghdad is going to become this huge center for learning. This might seem very similar to what we learned about Timbuktu, which was also a huge center for Islamic learning, and we see an increase there as well. So we see something very similar happening in Baghdad within the Abbasid Caliphate. They're going to promote Persian and non-Arab inclusion, so they're going to allow other traditions and other cultures of people, which really does allow them to have a stronger government and a stronger culture because they're able to learn it from each other. It also allows for the transfer of ideas from one culture to the another, and for merchants of different cultures to feel safe and like this is an area that they can go to. This caliphate is going to oversee an Islamic golden age of knowledge and discovery. There are going to be huge developments that really lay the groundwork for even science that we're still seeing today in science, math, medicine, philosophy, and literature. Every area is going to just grow and expand, and this expansion and growth is going to be supported by the government. So we're going to see them paying money from their tax revenue to build huge universities. We're going to see them promoting learning, okay, all of these things. And even because we see such a connection between religion and politics, we see that religion is also promoting this learning. Like we said, there are major advancements in science, math, astronomy, and medicine. Medical research and actual textbooks to train doctors are coming out of Dar al Islam. This is huge. We've never seen this before, and Europe is way behind. Europe is still just kind of letting doctors say they're doctors. There's no real training. There's no real universities, whereas Dar al Islam has textbooks with anatomically correct photos, or the drawings, but drawings of what the body looks like. They are doing research on how they can prevent disease, how they can treat patients, and they also have schools and tests that are required for you to be a doctor. Some of these training books that come out of Dar al Islam and this period in history are used for centuries to come because they are that accurate, and this is when the knowledge is being gained. They are also going to be instrumental in preserving and translating classical Greek, Roman, Persian, which is Iran today, and Indian texts into Arabic. Because they do this work, the humankind has this knowledge from these ancient texts today. So if you've ever heard anyone talk about Rome or Greece or ancient Persia, it is because Dar al Islam chose to keep these texts alive by preserving them, by translating them into Arabic. And this is going to be essential for knowledge and growth of human culture. We're going to see a spread of architectural styles. So dome, minarets are like tall towers, courtyards, okay? So this is the formation of a broad Islamic cultural identity across diverse regions. So even though the Arabian Peninsula, right, going into South and Western Asia over here and Northern Africa are very different regions, they have their own cultures, their own traditions. This is the period of time where we see this growth of Dar al Islam as a unifying voice, even for people who are in very different empires and states. So going back to this conversation of knowledge gaining is in Baghdad under the Abbasid Caliphate, we have this thing called the House of Wisdom. And it is going to be built by the government, and it is a leading center of learning, as it sounds, House of Wisdom, that makes sense, and research. There is going to be a huge exchange of knowledge and learning here. This is where we see the development of Arabic numbers. If you've taken a math class today or yesterday, and you've written the digits like we do, 1, 2, 3, you've written Arabic numbers. So our whole math system that we use is based on the development of these digits, okay? And our numeral system still is used, and it's used in most of the world, okay? This is also where we're going to add algebra. So if you love algebra, thank you, House of Wisdom and Baghdad and the Abbasid Caliphate. The concept of zero also is going to come from this time period, okay? Other things that we have, Nasir al-Din al-Tusi, he is the creator of trigonometry. So if you love trigonometry, thanks, House of Wisdom. If you hate trigonometry, well, sucks to be you, okay? So we have Nasir al-Din al-Tusi. He is Persian. He is from Iran, okay? He is going to develop this system of trigonometry. It is essential to architecture and all of these things that we have today in advanced math. It is essential, okay? We've already talked about the Canon of Medicine, that textbook that's going to teach about how to actually cure people. It's coming out of this as well, and it is still taught in European universities 600 years, okay? So you can see we've got a little bit of trigonometry here. If you want to learn more about the House of Wisdom, you can actually find that there's this really cool image here. It's not a historical image. It's an image recreated today to kind of demonstrate all of the things that were being done there. You can click on here and learn more about each of these images. It might help you to remember all of the things that were coming out of the House of Wisdom. Here is that Canon of Medicine, okay, and different texts. So we're going to preview the Ottoman Empire here. We're going to learn more about it when we get to our land-based empires expanding, 1450 to 1750. But you can see here, 1299, the Ottoman Empire is going to start. They're not going to become really big until like 1450, 1500s, but it's important to know about them already because they do fall under Dar al Islam. They have Turkish origin, and their capital is in Constantinople, which we call Istanbul today. They had extended Islamic rule into southeastern Europe, and it is significant later in the 1450s. So let's talk more about our Islamic expansion. How did Islam spread? We've already talked about trade. The second big way that they expand is through a military conquest. They're going to have huge early expansion under those first Muslim empires, the Umayyads. Okay, they have money, they have knowledge. They're going to use this and their power to expand it through military campaigns. We've already talked a ton about trade networks. When Muslims come into an area to trade, they don't just trade those goods. They're going to trade ideas, culture, religion. We just talked about cultural exchange, right? So Cairo, Baghdad, Cordoba, Timbuktu, these are places where Islam is spreading because people are exchanging ideas and knowledge, and that is allowed through their governments. We're also going to see missionary activity. So unlike Judaism, which does not have proselytizing or going out and telling people about their religion to acquire more followers, Christianity and Islam and Buddhism all have this. And it is a huge essential part of how Buddhism, Christianity, and Islam are going to spread. One of the big groups of missionaries are called Sufis, and these are mystical Islamic missionaries. It is more of this kind of like, there's dance and music and kind of like really flavorful and all of these things that people really latch onto. It's also really accepting of other ideas and allowing other people's ideas to come in and kind of combine with the ideas of Islam. So you can see here, it's more adaptable. There was dance, it's spiritual. Okay, so we've got these centers of Islamic learning. This is just a review of things we've already discussed. Mecca, Medina, Baghdad, Cordoba, Timbuktu. All huge centers of Islamic learning, and those preservations of priorly acquired knowledge, Greeks, Romans, etc. These are essential. They're going to be essential later on as well. So what is going to challenge Islamic expansion? Why did Islam just take over the world? They are these huge, powerful empires. They have a lot of knowledge, all of these things. What is keeping them from just keeping on expanding? Well, one of the things is the conflict between Sunni and Shia. We're going to see it later in our gunpowder empires when we get to 1450 to 1750, that there is huge conflict between the Ottoman Empire and a second gunpowder empire, the Safavids, because they are different sects of Islam. We're also going to see rebellion and regional rivalries within the Islamic world. Although Dar al Islam does have some unity, cultural ties, those architectural styles, they are different states and they are different empires. And just like any other empire, those empires want to grow and expand. So we're going to see them butting up against each other despite being the same religion. Resistance from Christian powers. So as we get closer and closer to 1450, we see there is an increased knowledge and use of weapons in Europe, and they're going to push against the expanding Islamic world. We also have the rise of the Mongols, which we will talk about later. They are going to sack Baghdad, that super powerful and important center of learning and of Dar al Islam in 12. So the legacy of Islamic expansion. Why is it important? What do we get even today and in later historical periods because Islam expanded? First, we have that formation of Dar al Islam, this cultural unity and identity, this realm of unified empires through Islamic law, language, Arabic, and all of that learning and scholarship. We have an influence on European Renaissance through the transmission of classical knowledge. Without Dar al Islam saving those texts, we would not have the European Renaissance that we have in Europe, which is going to be cause and effect relationship, really important to what comes next in history. Without the Renaissance, we potentially don't have European expansion and European exploration, which possibly would have been a good thing because most of the effects of European exploration are pretty negative. But if we're talking about here is our line of history, what causes what? We need the European Renaissance to lead to European exploration. And without the study and preservation of texts from Dar al Islam, 1200 to 1450, we don't have the European Renaissance. We have a continued development of Islamic art, literature, and architecture, and strong intellectual and economic connections from West Africa to Southeast Asia. All right, y'all, that's Dar al Islam. I'll see you on the next one. Bye, y'all.